Okay, so it's about 6:30 a.m. at the time of this recording. Obviously, just heart-wrenching, waking up to the Manchester terrorist bombing, and now I don't know exactly what's happening in the Philippines. It's just unfolding. Just a pit in my stomach, and you know I know that outrage is easy, and you see it a lot on both sides, but particularly on the right with just the finger wagging and sort of false patriotism and. We're still going to write comedy tonight. We're still going to do what we can to try and create a show. But I think that whether it's journalism or outrage or even comedy, it serves no purpose if there isn't some kind of a seeking for truth. And I don't mean your truth. I don't mean finding a truth. I mean the truth. There's no living your truth. There's the truth. And let's get down to some concretes. A lot of other people are trying to avoid talking specifics. Let's talk some specifics. Right now, I just read in the Daily Beast they arrested the man in association right now, a suspect with the Manchester terrorist attack, and they said, we need to fight the root. I think the influence of these violence. It's difficult to fight the values, the influence, the influencers of the violence, something along those lines, but refuse to say Islamic terrorism. We don't know that yet. Necessarily. We do know that apparently in the Philippines it is Islamic terrorism. Listen, if you want to practice Islam in sort of the inconsequential guy in the sky, semi-secular sense, fine. But I think it's time to acknowledge that political Islam, as prescribed by Muhammad, the political practice of Islam is completely inconsequential with the West. What do I mean by that? Well, okay, let's nail down some concrete values. Let's exclude terrorism for a second. Do you believe in any Sharia courts whatsoever in Western culture? You're not welcome here. Do you believe that it's okay if you marry a 6-year-old? You're not welcome. Do you believe that it's okay to beat your wife for any reason at all? You're not welcome. Do you believe in any kind of punishment, not only death, any kind of a punishment for apostasy or people leaving the faith of Islam? You're not welcome. Do you believe in any kind of punishment for blasphemy? As you see with Zuckerberg and Facebook saying they're going to crack down on anti-Islamic blasphemous posts. Do you believe in any kind of punishment for blasphemy? You're not welcome. These values, the political prescription of Islam, is by its own definition completely incompatible with Western culture because it seeks to eradicate Western culture. That's its purpose. And I would think this would be some common ground where progressives, leftists, and the right should be able to come together because the left would completely get on board with eradicating these worldviews if attributed to Christians. If Christians were okay with beating their wives, if Christians were okay with jailing people who spoke out against Christ, of course they'd have a problem with it. So I think that we should have the exact same problem with political Islam. I remember when I lived in Canada, 9/11 happened, and I remember being in comedy clubs and people saying, well, you know what, it doesn't happen in Canada. It doesn't happen in Europe. It doesn't happen in Denmark. It's because America has poked the bear. Well, now it's happening everywhere. And that's because appeasement is completely futile. Trying to appease a group of people whose worldview requires the eradication of those who appease them is so silly. I can't even wrap my mind around it. And today, the outrage now is Donald Trump called them losers at life. We're seeing this. Hey, Donald Trump, can you believe Donald Trump called them losers at life? Well, yeah. Yeah, I can. And you know what? He's not the most eloquent guy. Neither am I, apparently. I've talked about that. But you know why he's saying losers at life? You know why that's different from people saying this heinous attack and these monsters? Because he's trying to shame them. Because terrorists, because Islamic extremists can only be punished through shame. Shame is worse than death. That's why people have talked about bacon-tipped bullets or bacon grease, because they have a very physical worldview of heaven when they reach heaven's gates, and it would be shameful to be associated with the lowly pig. That's why everyone was so outraged at Abu Ghraib when, God forbid, American female soldiers stripped terrorists naked and had dogs barking at them while they laughed. Which, by the way, if I'm an American and I'm captured by ISIS, and what they do is have a woman laugh at me naked with a dog barking, I'll do a jig and thank the Lord above that I'm not being burned alive in a cage. So could he find a better way to express himself, the president? Sure, I would like to see him do so, hopefully in the hours that follow. But starting by shaming them and belittling them That's one hell of a start. And that's why you're seeing a contrast between him and other leaders. And I'm not the biggest fan of him on every issue, but you know what? Today, I certainly stand with the President of the United States and the sentiment of shaming these absolute losers at life in contrast with other world leaders and as opposed to mincing words on social media. And I just... Everyone's going to talk about unity today. That's the big thing, right? Everyone's going to get mad. You don't need to be inflammatory right now. You shouldn't be bombastic like you are. It's time to unify. No, it's not time for unity. It's time for an alliance, okay? And there's a difference. It's time for an alliance of people who value everything that has created the West, who hold Western values dear, the values that allow me to use my iPhone and this internet to upload this video to a platform freely, which hopefully won't censor it as hate speech. Who knows now with the horrible leviathan that Twitter and Google and Facebook have become in choosing to eradicate certain worldviews. But it's Western values that allows this even to happen. So I'm not about unity right now. How about an alliance? How about an alliance with other people who recognize and ally themselves against the evil that is political Islam? Because you know what? To unite with anywhere in the Islamic world who are even enablers of political Islam. To unite with enablers of political Islam by proxy is to unite with evil and to be evil. So at this point, when everyone's talking about words and outrage and let's be sensitive, no, let's not be sensitive in trying to not hurt people's feelings, but let's be ultra sensitive. Let's be ultra sensitive to the truth. Let's take our sensitivity in a different direction. Let's try and be as sensitive and as open-minded as humanly possible to the truth. And the truth right now, and the truth that is becoming clearer and clearer by the day, is that practiced political Islam, let me make that clear, the prescribed practicing of political Islam as outlined by Muhammad is completely incompatible with Western civilization, and it's time for us to ally against it because it's the great evil of our time. You think I'm right? You think I'm wrong? Let me know below. I'm sure plenty of you will be mad. I'm easy to find.